Hi, everybody. It is Penny and Kim here, lighting up your Friday with the 5 stars of strengthening families. We are continuing with our 4-part series, our second installment, I guess, today on concrete support in times of need for parenting teens. Penny's going to start us off with the check-in from last week.
Great. Thanks, Kim.
Wait, Penny.
Thanks everybody for coming back and spending some time with us again. So last week we talked about how do you know when it's time to access outside assistance for your teen's negative behavior. So we talked a little bit about understanding what's typical and talking with other parents and just gaining some knowledge around so you can make the differentiation between negative and typical, and also what you can do when the typical negative becomes more than you can handle. And yeah, so we asked you to just, I think Kim called it a treasure hunt, so find out what's available in your area. So your province, your municipality, your county, you know, FCSS would be an example of that, right? We have resources for parents. So yeah, just having a look around and planning ahead a little bit and figuring out, okay, if and when, where can I go when I decide that it's time? Yeah, so hopefully you had a chance to connect with, yeah, and find some stuff, some good information. And so today, Kim's gonna start us off.
Okay, so the question for today is, how do you teach your teen to advocate for themselves to get what they need from service providers? How do you teach your teen to advocate for themselves to get what they need from service providers?
Okay, how do you help your teen? So yeah, when I think about that, that's sort of something you would try to be practicing from the time they're small, right? That idea of autonomy and body autonomy and being able to speak up for themselves and asking for the things they need. And so in supporting our teens, it's really very similar to that in being their, you know, you can, you know, I think about maybe being their sounding board and still maintaining the distance, right? It's practice. So if we never do anything, we don't get to practice. So that includes advocating for ourselves. If we as parents are stepping in and advocating on behalf of our children, and it's true that in their life and even as teens, there will be moments when you may have to, and you want to give them the opportunity to practice that skill of speaking up for themselves and doing it in a way that is respectful and aligned with your values as a family, right? And again, you decide what that looks like. So supporting them through helping them gather information, modeling, right? Modeling, what does that look like? How do I stand up for myself in my relationship, in my community, even with them? How do I set boundaries with them in a respectful way so that they can see how that's done? So how do I advocate for myself? How do I convey that I don't want to be the one doing all the housework? Or how do I convey that I need time for my work, or how important my work is to me, and all of those kinds of things. Yeah, that's kind of where my brain goes with that question. How about you, Kim?
For me, what's coming up is dependence, is showing our kids that they can depend on us, and getting them used to realizing that I can depend on someone, and what that feels like for somebody to be there for them when in times of need, and not times of need, just somebody to be there so that I can depend on. Because the more that I can depend and I experience depending on someone, the more I have the ability to think that might be somebody else that I could depend on too. Like if I guess what keeps coming up for me is it's like, fine, I'll do it myself then. Nobody, if you want something done, the right way, you got to do it yourself. This kind of attitude comes up for me when I think about this question. It's like, I'll just do it myself. And you become accustomed to doing things yourself. But if, as a parent, our children can depend on us to be there when they're needed, when they need us, and to see them through difficult situations, they'll get that practice in doing that. And when you feel like you can depend on somebody, then you're more likely to venture out and with independence. So in a sense, dependence is fostering independence here, is where I'm going with this. So the more we can say, you can depend on me, go ahead, go, I'll be here if you need me. I guess I'm thinking more of a younger child, but it's the same goes for a teenager, because they actually are separating from you more and more the older that they get, the more, right? The older that they get. So by saying, I'll be here if you need me, just take those steps and I'll be here if you need me. That's what I mean by the dependence, fostering independence. So, and doing things like, when I was growing up, for me, it was Girl Guides. I don't know if I think they still do Girl Guides, but things like Girl Guides and 4-H, and those are ways that kids kind of get, a chance to step out of their comfort zone and do things sort of on their own. It doesn't have to be organized like that, though. It can be even when you've got your child and you're going through the grocery line. They can maybe, I guess we don't use cash so much these days, but maybe they could pay for something themselves, and speak for themselves. Little things like that, as they're getting older and older, or maybe even running down and grabbing I guess if they're teens and they're driving, I guess they can run down and get a liter of milk or something, pick that up themselves, for you. Doing things like little steps like that, stepping out and speaking to a stranger by themselves, asking for something. So those are that's kind of where I was going with that. So it can be hard, especially for us parents that don't like to see our kids struggle. We might step in and speak for them. That's another thing too, is allowing your child to speak for themselves, rather than when somebody asks a question, rather than jumping in and answering, letting your child speak from a young age, especially because they get used to talking with people that's maybe a little bit more uncomfortable, and they might be keen to let you do it for them.
Yeah, and I really like that. Yeah, that resonates, what you say about, you're the home base, you're their anchor sort of idea, and they can then feel like they can go out and be more. Yeah, I think we're all better at self-advocating when we feel like we have somebody has our back, right?
Yeah.
We're more courageous. We have more ability to be authentic because we know that we have a safe place to land. So yeah, I think that's really important point.
And even when we're taking them through the till and having them pay, you go ahead, you pay, I'll be here if you need me.
Mm-hmm.
So you can depend on me. That's where the dependence comes in. It seems a bit opposite of but it really is important to be able to depend on somebody, have your back, like you say, so that you can step forward with this confidence that even if you make a mistake, somebody will be there to help you. So
yeah, and I think that actually, when you say that, talking about mistakes, then that brings up for me that's a really good way in the home you can foster their ability to advocate for themselves, is that idea that we, that growth mindset environment of mistakes or learning, and we all make mistakes, and helping them feel better about themselves as a human gives them more confidence to go forth and
right.
advocate for themselves. Yeah.
Right, because when we've made a mistake, that's often the time that we need to advocate for ourselves and get some help, but some support, right? So if we can practice that with the small things, starting from when they're little, you've made a mistake, and now I'll stick with you through this. We'll work through this together. I can help you, that kind of thing. So again, it's dependence.
It's such a fine line, isn't it? Especially when they get into these emerging adult years, to walk the line between helicopter and dependence, that,
Yes.
right? Where do I have your back, and where am I sort of, carrying you on my back?
Yes. Yes, you can depend on me does not mean I'm doing it all for you.
Right.
And I think that's where dependence kind of got a bad rap, is that we're doing it all for them. That's not at all what I'm talking about. Yeah. Depending on somebody to be there for you is different than having them do it all for you.
I agree. Yeah. I think that, being able to depend on someone means someone will be there to help you through the messy after bits when you screw up.
Yeah, or to show you the way before you do.
Yeah, or to show you the way, or to just hold your hand and say, yeah, I know that really sucks.
I've been there.
Yeah, and just to sit with you through it, and when you're ready, be there to help you pick up the pieces. Yeah.
Because then they can experience what it feels like to depend on someone to be there for them. And then they know, I can ask for help with this because I've done it many, many times before in my life.
And I can see, and as we talk about it more, how that's probably really tricky in these teen years, is because, parents are really wanting their children to be able to go forth and knowing they only have a few more years. And so where is that balance between, and knowing the difference, right? That being there for a person isn't the same as doing everything for that person. And good stuff. Okay, so to summarize, how do you teach? You be their person, you have their back without doing everything.
Yeah.
Model self-advocacy. You teach as they grow, allowing them more and more freedom to, do the things they want to do, and to help with everyday things, and encouraging them to make connections with people. And like you say, Kim, with getting the milk. And it's so funny because from young children, my children are a little more on the shy side. And so just, when you pay, you look at the person in the face. Yeah. When someone says hello, you say hello back. You look at them when you speak to them. And it's hard because, especially as they grow into teenhood, they're more self-conscious, and it's really just that encouragement of, you hold your head up high, you look at people, you're worthy of that, and they're worthy of your, in my opinion, one of our values is respecting other people. And you show respect by looking at people when they're speaking to you, and service people included, everybody, right? That's a person there selling you that milk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, and you're modeling that. I remember when my son was really little, he was playing downstairs, and he'd pick up the phone and he'd say, "Hello, this is Kim Forchuk speaking," and and so he that's not his name, but that's my name. But he heard me saying it, and so he was doing exactly what I was doing, and talking with a stranger. Now his temperament is a little bit more outgoing than my daughter's. So you're right. When your child is a little bit more on the shy or reserved side, they're going to have a little bit more practice and a little bit more support, and be able to depend a little bit. So I'd like our challenge today to become a detective and become aware of where you're making your child feel, or your teen feel, that they can depend on you, and what's that fine line between doing it for them or not doing anything. Like, where are you on that spectrum, I guess? Doing it all, not doing any, or having a child that can depend on you.
Right. Yeah. And I love that temperament bit too. So first comes understanding of where your child is and how much support do they need, right?
Yeah.
Because some children may need quite a bit more and some might need quite a bit less, or teens. So yes, excellent challenge. So take that with you today and do your best with it over the next week. And we will see you back here next Friday at 1 for our third question in the concrete support in times of need.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye, everyone.